Welcome, all of you, to this particular session. Uh, my name is Manish Agrawal. I'll start a little bit with my background. I have about 25 years of work in different companies. I started my career with Citibank in their consumer banking division after graduating from IIM Ahmedabad in 1995. Post that, I worked in a variety of corporate roles, including as head of strategy, research, and innovation in Deloitte. I was a director in Dell, and my last corporate assignment was with a company in the area of renewable energy. I was the chief operating officer of this company, and I had a great, exciting time building renewable energy projects in the country. I also had a very interesting stint as a professor, as a visiting faculty. I taught at management institutes in Singapore and Dubai in the area of decision making and outsourcing. In addition, I also taught at at three IIMs: Indore, Raipur, and IIM Udaipur. For the last several years, I'm now an entrepreneur, and I operate as an independent financial advisor, helping individuals and families with their financial investments and also with their insurance needs. Uh, in the process, in my journey in life, very early, when I was about 20 years of age, I was also associated with the practice of heartfulness, and it has transformed me personally in a very wonderful way. I also volunteer my time now, about 40% of it, to the cause of heartfulness, where I operate as a trainer and I help people who are interested in meditation and a spiritual way of life through a certain technique which is called transmission, of which we will have some opportunity to talk about later. So, with this introduction, I'll sort of take you through what we are going to do today. And the topic for today's session is wellness in the times of COVID. Very clearly, this disease has impacted us in ways which our generation definitely has definitely not seen. We also do not know what kind of social and personal challenges it will bring in the area of wellness, particularly because a lot of physical contacts between individuals will sort of reduce in the times to come. So, what we are going to do today is focus on three areas. One is we will talk about the dimensions of wellness, the three dimensions of wellness. We will then move on to a very experiential exercise, which will last for anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, where sitting in our respective places, wherever we are, we will do a short meditation of about 15 to 20 minutes, which will be a guided meditation in the sense that I will also be sitting here and I will be doing something which is transmitting a certain energy. And post that session, we will come back to some Q and A's, and we'll take some of the questions that the participants for today's session may have. So, with this, we'll start with the dimensions of wellness. So, the first dimension of wellness is what we can call as physical. So, we can all experience whether we are physically well or not. So, in other words, it can be felt and it can be touched. We can, by physical touch, we know whether we are physically well or not. The second dimension of wellness is around mental, which is to say that whether we are fine in our minds. So physically, maybe we may be all very fine, but whether we are fine mentally. And now this dimension cannot be known by touch, but it can definitely be known by our feeling of what we are feeling from inside and what our mental state is in at a given point of time. The third dimension, of which a lot of us here may not be aware of, and that is the spiritual dimension. Now, this is a dimension which can neither be felt easily unless and until somebody is trained, nor can we experience it just by touch. And therefore, it brings to the question to us to a question as to what is the proof of the existence of this spiritual dimension if it cannot be felt or touched. If 99% or 95% of us have not experienced the spiritual dimension, then how do we know that it is really there is a dimension which is spiritual in nature? Now, what we'll do is we'll open this question up, but we will not try to answer it at this point in time. It does not mean, and we will answer it by towards the end of the presentation. So, for the time being, we'll just accept that there is a spiritual dimension. We acknowledge that it has not been experienced by many of us, and we are just taking it at face value now. And we will explore whether, at the end of the session, whether we can really take it at face value. Now, the interesting part of wellness is that all the three dimensions I talked about, they are very well interconnected. What it means is that if you are physically unwell, you'll also experience a mental state where wellness will be reduced. And there is enough evidence now in medical literature and otherwise that if you are not in a good mental state, it impacts your physical well-being as well. I have just posted one link here. This is an article from Time magazine where they bring out very clearly that people who are under depression or people who are in negative mental states, they have a much higher incidence, or in fact they cause to themselves many more diseases than that what is possible or what is normally seen in patients who are not under lack of mental wellness. And this establishes to us that there is a very clear interrelation between physical wellness and mental wellness. So for the time being, if this correlation is known, then we will just assume that there is a correlation between mental wellness and spiritual wellness as well. And for the time being, we'll just accept as it is, and then later explore whether this is indeed true or not. Now, one of the premises that I will talk about today is that India as a civilization is a civilization of antiquity. There was a study done by United Nations which identified 40 or which studied 46 different civilizations across the globe, and India was the only civilization which they figured out had a continuity to its antiquity. So therefore, this long civilization which continued for a very significant period of time, there was a lot of effort which was spent by Indians in trying to address wellness in all the three dimensions that we talked about. And in that process, they evolved a set of techniques. And in the area of physical wellness, they figured out something which we call as Hatha Yoga. And it's part of overall yoga, but it's mainly called Hatha Yoga. And that itself has three major components. The first component is what we call as pranayam. The pranayam is similar to what you see Baba Ramdev teaching to all the practitioners. And where pranayam comes from is from a discovery by our ancient rishis that there's an energy in nature which is called pran. And this pran, this natural energy called pran is nothing but the life force that we experience in all humans. So a dead body, when imbued with pran, becomes life in action. What they further discovered was that there are 72,000 channels inside, very fine channels inside our body through which this natural energy called prana flows. And if this, and whichever is the diseased part of the body, at that part, what they figured out was that the flow of prana was not smooth. This life force was not flowing smoothly in that part of the body. Then they devised techniques how to smoothen the flow, because remember, these are subtle energies, these are not gross energies. The subtler the energy, the subtler has to be the technique. And in that research, what they found out was that there are two ways by which this prana can be regulated to the diseased part of the body. One was through breath, and that's why all pranayam exercises involve breath. And the second part we will not talk about today, but there is a second method which we will sort of not address at this point in time. The second method they discovered or they evolved was what we today call as yoga asanas, which means physical exercises which strengthen the physical part of our body. Remember, pranayam works more at a subtler level by regulating the prana. And the third thing that they figured out was that ahar, which is nothing but the food intake, that helps in our wellness, physical wellness. And if our intake of food is not in line with natural principles, chances of lack of physical wellness will increase. And therefore, they went about with a very elaborate study of the medicinal properties and the other property, the nutritive properties of all the food intake that we take. And these are all available. If we go to YouTube, there are hundreds of videos which are available, which will tell us the nutritive value of foods in different dimensions. So this was as far as the physical dimension was concerned. We move now to the mental and the spiritual dimension. And again, there was a lot of research which was conducted by our yogis, by our rishis, and they evolved techniques to address wellness in this dimension as well. And here they came up with a technique which deals with the mind, and they called it Raj Yoga. Now, within Raj Yoga, there are hundreds of techniques which are in vogue today. But today we will, for this session or for this particular session, we will focus only on one of these techniques, which is popularly called heartfulness. Now, in this technique, what we do is we use spiritual energy. In nature, there's another energy, just like prana is one energy. Our rishis discovered that there's another energy which is called transmission or pranahuti. And it's a very, very subtle energy. And what they figured out was that this energy acts not on so much on our physical body, but it acts on our subtle body. And I'll explain what that means. Now, in nature, there is one very fundamental principle that humans have not been given the power to destroy anything. They can transform anything, but they cannot destroy anything. And that's what is summed up in that famous Einstein's equation of energy is equal to mass into E is equal to mc square. So we all have experienced that our physical body, because that is something which is very known to us, or which is something which we experience. What these rishis in turn discovered was that behind this physical body which dies, which comes to an end, there is another body, and they called it the Sukshma Sharir, or nothing but the subtle body. And they went on even to identify what are the components of subtle body, which we will not discuss today just for the sake of simplicity. Behind this Sukshma Sharir, they also discovered another body which they called the causal body, or the Karan Sharir. And what they figured out was that using transmission, which acts on the causal body and on the Sukshma Sharir, if a person practices regularly in the way which is prescribed, there are certain effects that will come about. And these can be experienced by any individual. Now, I've listed down some of the effects that individuals who have practiced heartfulness have felt. So first one is inner calmness and lightness. So our mind is very agitated most of the time, or a lot of time. Think about, say, a session going on in school. Typically, our mind is not on a session in what the professor is saying, not for more than 5 to 10 minutes. And it's essentially because our mind is not calm, it's jumping from one topic to another. The second thing that they figured out was, or what can be experienced, is that there is a reduction in our fear. We are not as afraid of things, of losing our jobs, of losing our health, or losing something else as a result of this practice. And it leads to, therefore, higher concentration levels, which means if you focus on a topic, your ability to learn that topic becomes much higher. And it also leads to a reduction in ego and therefore better decision making. Now, if you look at these 5 items which I have just described, and if you link back to our roles in corporates, about 80 to 90% of the problems we face in corporates as a corporate worker at any level relate to these 4 or 5 things, which is fear of not doing well, fear of losing our jobs, ego. Interpersonal issues are mostly related to ego, not so good decision making, and also so a lot of even our effectiveness as corporates, when we use this energy and we transform ourselves, this energy enables us to even better become better corporate workers. Also, it leads to inner joy and dropping up of some of our negative tendencies like excess anger, excess hatred, and so on. And this brings us to the next point, which is, and which is the question we started out about: how do we know that there is an existence of a spiritual level? Now, the fact is that this energy which is transmitted, it can be transmitted over long distances. For example, today I will be sitting with you and I will be transmitting this energy to all the participants without even seeing their face, and we will see whether it has some small effect on us for the first day or not. But assuming that regular practice can bring about these changes in us, then what it means is that at some level, the trainer is touching a level which is not physical in nature, because there's no physical element involved. And that should give us a hint that there is a spiritual level which is getting affected just by the mere fact that somebody is transmitting a energy. Remember, data exchange between two machines, we know in engineering and we know in computer science that data exchange between two machines cannot happen unless and until there is a physical connectivity, which could be wireless, which could be by wire, and so on. But connectivity is required. Similarly, if a trainer can impact and bring about a certain change in consciousness through the effects that I am talking about, then it very clearly means that there is a connectivity between the trainer and the trained. And in that connectivity, a level which we are not aware of currently has been definitely touched. And that depends on the results that of the practice. And we have to prove it for ourselves whether it works for us or not. So with this, we'll do a small experimental meditation session today. This will be for 15 to 20 minutes at max. And what we will do in this, I'm just giving the instructions of what we have to do for the next 15 minutes. So first is, when I say please start, you will close your eyes and suppose that there is divine light in the heart. So this all has to be done only when I say please start. When I say please start, close your eyes. Suppose that there is divine light in the heart. Now don't try to see the light. We have to be this has to be a very effortless exercise. We don't have to strain ourselves in trying to see the light. Now in reality, when you will do that, what will happen is your mind will wander. Now at this stage, do not force your mind to stop wandering. Just let it be. Now at some stage, when your mind is wandering, you will recollect that your mind has wandered. At that time, very gently come back to the idea of divine light in the heart. In about 15 to 20 minutes, I will say that's all. And when that happens, please open your eyes very gently and take 1 minute to reflect on what has happened, or what did you experience or observe in those 15 to 20 minutes. So with these instructions, I will request all of you to please start and follow the process we just described. So please start the meditation. I will give another instruction, please, that's all, which means the process is over. That's all. So we can stop the meditation and just take about 30 to 45 seconds just to reflect what we experienced and note it down mentally. So while we don't have a real session where I can get online feedback, but we have done thousands of such sessions all across the globe. What we have experienced is about 30 to 50% of the population, and there's no reason to believe that this population would be different. You would have experienced as if some of you would have experienced that you have fell asleep. But when you dig a little deeper and self-reflect on that sleep, what you will find is that in this sleep that you experienced just now, which some of you would have experienced just now, you were aware of the surroundings. What was happening around you, you were fully aware, but you felt as if you were asleep. Now, when we sleep in the night, normally we are not even aware of the surroundings. So this sleep very clearly is different from the sleep that we get in the night. And the key difference is that what you just experienced is really not sleep, but a relaxed state of mind. Through the process of transmission, we did something by which the mind came in a relatively relaxed state. And the mind is used to relaxation only during sleep. That's what our mind knows currently. And therefore, it was telling us that it was sleeping. Whereas in reality, it was not sleeping. It was just in a more relaxed state. Those who have serious sleeping related issues, which means they find it difficult to experience deep sleep when they are sleeping, or they find difficulty in getting to sleep, please observe today when you sleep whether it improves, the quality of the sleep improves. And please be aware that this is just the first session that we did. Regular practice of meditation through this technique of transmission will actually bring far more deeper changes, which we discussed in some of the slides. So with this, I will start sort of taking some of the questions that I am receiving. So the first question is this COVID period where physical distancing is important, is there a way to heal someone from a distance? So again, if we are talking of physical healing, there are techniques in physical healing where people can heal you from a distance. These techniques are called Reiki. The technique that we did today is really not meant for physical healing, but it is meant to transform us mentally and spiritually. And this can also be practiced at a distance. And those who are interested can get in touch with me offline, and we can get you started on regular practice of this session, which will help you transform yourself. But to answer the question, yes, it is possible to even physically heal using some techniques like Reiki when people are at a physical distance. The second question is, what kind of food helps in keeping the soul pure? So remember, soul is always pure. Soul is called Atman. It is always pure. It is not, nothing can disturb its purity. When we say what helps, what kind of food helps in keeping the soul pure, what we are asking or presenting ourselves is that what helps in coming into these deeper states of consciousness or in these higher states of consciousness, what kind of food helps? So one very clearly, food which is light helps, food which is cooked freshly helps, some raw foods and vegetables help. In general, non-veg food is not advised for people who are spiritual practitioners. The next question is, while we find it difficult to control our eating habits, is there a way that the thoughts can be tamed to make ourselves healthy? So yes, this relates to mental health. Thoughts can be not tamed, but we don't use the word tame, but we say regulate. So the reason why you don't use the word tame is because tame implies control. And in meditation, we are not trying to control thoughts, but to regulate them. So yes, it is possible to regulate these thoughts through the continuous and regular practice of heartfulness meditation. And what the interesting experience is that if we regulate our thoughts, it has, because we are operating at a spiritual level, it has an impact on both mental and the physical level, which we discussed earlier, that these levels are interrelated. When we operate at the spiritual level, the mental and the physical also tends to heal in different ways, which means negative tendencies like excess use of alcohol, excess use of non-veg food, etc. The tendencies themselves tend to drop off. The next question is how to arrive our subconscious mind, since we heard that subconscious mind knows all that which even the conscious mind does not see or know. So again, what happens is conscious mind is only a part of our being. There are subconscious levels and there are something called superconscious levels as well. Through the practice of meditation, it is possible to delve into the subconscious. Subconscious is always the repository of the past, and we can also get into superconscious states. Superconscious states tell us something about the future, and yes, it is possible to through meditation to access both the subconscious and the superconscious. The next question is there a particular time and place we should be careful of for meditating? Uh, Now, we generally advise that the time and place should be fixed, but it is not a mandatory requirement, which means if for some reason you are not able to fix a time or a place, then we don't insist on the same and we do what is the best which is possible. But if it is possible to fix a time and place, that's better. The next question is when I try to meditate, my mind wanders, how I can stay focused? And this is a very interesting and a generic problem with all meditators. Now, what happens is the mind wanders for a certain reason because it is used to certain tendencies in the past. Through the practice of heartfulness meditation, what we do is we remove the underlying tendency which is causing this wandering. And that is possible through a trained by a trainer. And when we do that progressively, what the practitioner experiences that the mind wanders less and less, and we ultimately reach what he calls as a samadhi-like state, where the mind is still focused and deeply absorbed in something which is very, very joyful and divine. The next question is when we meditate, is there a particular thing that you think about or keep saying to stay to yourself to stay focused? In the heartfulness form of meditation, we focus on the divine light in the heart. It's really not a focus because focus implies effort. It's just a supposition, which is effortless. The next question is: are any tips to help detach self from distractions of the world? Now, what happens as a regular practice of meditation, you get attached to something which is much more wonderful than what we are normally used to in the worldly sense. And that wonderful thing is nothing but a sense of divine within ourselves. And this practice brings so much inner joy, and that joy is not dependent on anything which is outside of us. And therefore, it helps detach ourselves in a normal way. We do not force detachment, but it gets detached slowly, progressively, and in a natural sort of way. The next question is somebody said that they feel drowsy, heavy weight on my head. Now, sometimes very few people, when they are meditating, because of the effect of transmission, there is something which is being taken out from their system. And for a very short span of time, they may feel heavy, but that's very, very, for a very few people, and but for a very short period of time. Drowsiness is nothing but a state of reflection which indicates that your mind is now getting relaxed and therefore it is giving you a sleepy feeling. So next question was how many times a day can we do this? Now there is no limit to the number of times you can do it. But what is important is that you get in touch with a trainer. And in this case, if you want to start, you need to get in touch with Corina, and she can connect you to me. What is important is that you cannot start on your own in general. A trainer must sit and meditate with you on 3 consecutive days. And post that, you have to start your own practice, which will consume about, which is about an investment of about 65 minutes a day. And once you start, you have to meditate once in the morning, and there are one or two exercises which take another 30-35 minutes during the course of the day. You can also go to our website, heartfulness.org, and you can also watch some of our videos on YouTube. Just type heartfulness and you will get a lot more material on how this practice is done. The important part is that to start, you must get in touch with a trainer. And our website, our YouTube channels, and our Facebook channels can help you get in touch with a trainer. You are anyway welcome to get in touch with me as well. The next question is, how do we control quick anger? Now, what happens as a result again of this meditation is that all unnatural tendencies will start dropping off. So if you have excess anger, that will get reduced. But remember, anger will not go away completely, but it will definitely reduce to become what is natural. The last question that I see is, what is the main advantage of regular meditation, practice of meditation that we just did? I'll just repeat and I'll put up the slide which explains that. Some of the things that happen through regular practice is inner calmness and feeling of lightness and joyfulness, reduction in fear, higher concentration levels, reduction in ego, better interpersonal relationships, better decision making, and dropping off of all our negative tendencies. So these are the questions I have received till now, and in case you have more questions, please direct them to Corina, and we will try and respond to these questions. The next question is, what sort of meditation we need to do? The same we did today. Again, there are many ways by which the practice of meditation, many institutions offer different kinds of meditation. The meditation that we offer is called heartfulness. As I indicated, a lot of material is there on the website, and I recommend that you try out heartfulness by getting in touch with a regular trainer and then following it up with your regular practice, daily practice. Next question is, there is an urge to open the eyes. What do we do? Yes, the urge is there sometimes to some people because our mind is not trained to go inside us. It is always trained to, or it is used to going outside of us. Therefore, many people find it difficult to keep that intent of closing the eyes and meditating difficult. This happens purely in the beginning of the practice. So normally what we advise to beginners is that just put an alarm clock for half an hour, and this alarm clock, after half an hour, you don't get up till the alarm clock rings for that after that half an hour. And secondly, if you are regular in your practice and you are training with a trainer, this problem will go away in a couple of months. Next question is, what is best among yoga, pranayam, and meditation? Do understand that pranayam is meant for our physical and to some extent mental wellness, whereas meditation is more related to our mental and spiritual wellness. So they both are important, and both need to be practiced so that at all the three, our wellness is achieved at all the three levels, which is physical, mental, and spiritual. Next question is, are these to be required to be done every day by us to get optimal benefit? Yes, meditation has to be practiced every day, but do remember, meditation done alone will be very, very difficult and almost impossible. Meditation done with the help of transmission, with the help of a trainer, will be very effective in bringing optimal benefit. Is it okay to the next question is it okay to have light music while meditating? Answer is not desirable to have music while meditating, and the reason is very simple. In meditation, what we are trying to do is to bring the focus of the mind from outside to inwards, and anything which draws the mind back outwards is an impediment to meditation, and therefore it is not advised to have any external disturbance which could sort of draw the mind outside. Another question is how to concentrate the mind as my mind flies here and there during meditation. Please understand, this is normal. Your mind will fly here and there during meditation. It is only through regular practice, under guidance, under a trainer, that you will slowly find that the cause which causes your mind to fly here and there will be slowly removed. You will start feeling lighter, and then your mind will be more stable and less and more into meditation than at this point in time. And that's the magic of transmission. Also, we need to understand the difference between concentration and meditation. Remember, a lot of times people confuse this. Meditation is an effortless exercise, whereas concentration requires effort, and these two are different things. If we learn how to meditate correctly, concentration develops as a result. So do remember, we are not training ourselves to concentrate, we are training ourselves to meditate, and once we correctly train ourselves to meditate, concentration will result from that process. So meditation, do remember, it's like a vidya. And just like to acquire any vidya, we need to train ourselves, practice regularly. We have to practice this as well regularly. So thanks a lot, all of you, for spending your time. And in case any of you are interested, please visit our website, heartfulness.org. Please visit our YouTube channels in the name of Heartfulness, or connect with me personally through Purina to get you started and to know more about this practice of meditation. Thank you so much once again for your time, and wish you good luck.